Welcome to the initial training for Canciones y Cuentos levels A, B, and C. With the resources that we'll be looking at today, you'll notice how Canciones y Cuentos prepares students to learn the basics of reading through phonics using songs and stories, just as the name translates, Canciones y Cuentos. However, this program is so much more than just songs and stories, providing robust instruction that is correlated to the English Language Arts Common Core State Standards, provides content-based phonics instruction, engages with compelling content that connects learning across the curriculum, and its consistent, easy-to-use lesson plans help children meet rigorous expectations. Here are the participant outcomes for today. 2. Identify the purpose of each program component. Explain best practices for teaching phonics. Understand the instructional design of Canciones y Cuentos. And describe how the Canciones y Cuentos assessment tools monitor students' progress and inform instruction. Canciones y Cuentos focuses on building foundational reading skills using a combination of informational texts and stories. The student resources include decodable ebooks, which are powered by Vital Source Bookshelf to give students fully integrated, online, downloadable, and mobile access to decodable books, as well as decodable print books, which also build phonics skills and offer high-frequency word instruction and practice. These leveled readers are authentic Spanish text. These are not simply poorly done translations of works in English. Number 2, an activity book to reinforce skills taught throughout the program. And number 3, finally, the word builder, which provides digital letter and word tiles that allow interactive practice opportunities for students. This is found on the Teacher Companion site. The teaching resources include, number 1, in the top left corner there, the Teacher's Guide, which provides consistent, comprehensive instruction, including lesson plans, benchmark assessments, progress monitoring assessments, and reteaching, review, and extension ideas and resources. There is also a teacher website where you can access audio and interactive resources to enhance your instruction, along with the songbook, the Cancionero MP3s. Next, we have the songbook that includes memorable interactive songs introduced in each lesson and an Alpha Animales alphabet poster that I know your students will really enjoy. These songs are available in a variety of formats, including via MPs and audio CDs, and those are located in your teacher's guide. There are also sing-along versions that include line-by-line highlighting. We also have the syllable cards. If you look in the bottom left of the slide, these provide visual and kinesthetic practice with sounds and words. Digital syllable cards are also available that make presenting to the class seamless. There are also letter tiles, and you see those in the bottom center of the slide, that can be used to guide students in forming the syllables that appear on those syllable cards. As our program author, Lada Kratky, believes, in order to learn to read and write, students need to, first, develop phonological awareness and understand that words are made of sounds. Next, they need to learn the correspondence between sounds and letters and learn the symbols that represent each one of those sounds. And finally, they must be exposed to a variety of print texts. Jim Cummins, a world-renowned expert in second language acquisition, stated, "The most effective approaches to develop initial reading skills, or decoding, are those that combine extensive and varied exposure to meaningful print and explicit and systematic instruction in phonemic awareness and letter sound correspondences." I'd like us to keep this quote in mind as we delve a little bit deeper into the research base and instruction for Canciones y Cuentos. I want you to take a look at an author monograph that we have on pages PD1 and PD2. And that monograph is going to help us answer the following questions that I'll list on this slide here. Let me list those questions for you as you go ahead and take a look at PD1 and PD2. What is explicit and systematic phonics instruction? What is phonological awareness? And finally, why is it an essential part of a successful reading program? So once you take a look at the monograph and you've answered those questions, you can share those responses out with your partners. I'd like to next take a look at the Level A Scope and Sequence chart on page R2. For those of you that are doing training in Texas, I'd like you to note that the scope and sequence is based both on the Common Core State Standards and on the TEKS, or the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. Let's begin with the end in mind and take a look at the scope and sequence located on this page. Canciones y Cuentos focuses on building foundational reading skills using a combination of informational texts and stories. The program includes opportunities to apply the skills you see here on this page for discussions and in writing. Other resources that you find in Canciones y Cuentos include a transfer chart, and you can find this on page R4. This shows the sound spelling associations that transfer well and those that do not transfer so well. As research would indicate, a child's understanding of their first language directly impacts their second language acquisition. Teachers here can refer to the transfer chart information in order to pinpoint whether an error is a transfer error or if it could be a sound spelling association that might transfer well. This information can be used before writing to help inform your instruction or after writing in order to help correct some errors. On page R9, there is a high-frequency word chart that is organized by lesson and in alphabetical order, so you can find the words that you need in order to target instruction for your students. While it integrates all strands of literacy and content learning, Canciones y Cuentos is focused on building foundational reading skills. The correlation on page CCSS2 includes just those foundational standards that are the focus of instruction. As you can see here, lessons include text-dependent comprehension questions, writing activities, and activities that engage students in speaking and listening. The correlation on page CCSS2 includes the English Language Arts Standards for Foundational Reading Skills that are included in the Common Core State Standards. You can view these standards by going to the following website: www.corestandards.org/literacy/RF, as in Frank, /K. On page CCSS4, Canciones y Cuentos is correlated to the English Language Arts College and Career Readiness Anchor Standards for Writing. You can also view these standards by going to the following web address: www.corestandards.org/ela-literacy/w. Finally, on page CCSS5, you can see the language standards. I'd like us now to take a look at one of the routines from the table of contents on the page before PD1, where you find information on phonological awareness, reading, spelling and word work, writing, corrective feedback, reteaching, and high-frequency words. So I'd like to give you a brief think time about some strategies that you might use. And when you take a look at that, then give a minute for you to each partner with a partner share to exchange your ideas, and then as a large group, we can share those out. Elkonin insists that children should learn to hear sounds in words before they are exposed to the letters. You can refer here to page PD3, which if we didn't speak about that in the slide before, you can look at PD3 here where it talks specifically about the Elkonin boxes. Elkonin boxes help students build phonological awareness by segmenting words into sounds or syllables. This helps teach students how to count the number of phonemes in the word and help students better understand the alphabetic principle in decoding and spelling. So in order to do this gradually, following the gradual release model, we first utilize the Elkonin boxes, counting the sounds in the word with the students. This is located in the phonological awareness routine. After some practice with these sound boxes, your students then can start to identify the sound without the visual support, meaning without the actual boxes or the manipulatives as you push the sounds into the boxes. Finally, students will begin to identify the sound without visual or auditory support, and the teacher can be silent while the student counts the sounds in the words. As you can see on this slide, each lesson has a specific phonics target and high-frequency word or words associated with it. Now let's take a look at the instructional model of a lesson. For today's training, we're going to be looking at lesson number 23 on page 90 in your Level A Teacher's Guide. But I want you to know that whatever level you're going to be using, the instruction will be the same. We're going to take a look at the objectives, or the objetivos box, at the start of each lesson, which outlines the learn to read, or aprender a leer, objectives, as well as the content concepts, or conceptos de contenido objectives. For example, in lesson 23, one of the content concepts is learning about the habitat and lifestyles of gorillas. Each unit begins with Sing and Comprehend, where you will have the opportunity to introduce concepts through engaging songs that activate students' prior knowledge about the topic while creating phonological awareness. Next, you present the letter for the lesson. The letter for this particular lesson is letter G, or He. Sing the song once more and then display letter card 23A and point to the gorilla. Pronounce the word gorilla, emphasizing the initial G sound. Then practice phonological awareness and initial sounds with the examples from the back of the letter card. Once this has been done, use the back of the letter card from card number 23A to demonstrate how to write the uppercase and lowercase form of the letter presented. Writing continues with an introduction to a high-frequency word and the building words activity that give children the opportunity to build a series of words. This then ends with a quick write to give students multiple exposures to using these words. Now we come to the read section. Practice reading by walking the students through the front cover and title and previewing the book, while guiding them with questions and comments. Next, you will have the students whisper read the book to each other while you support them with the differentiated instruction routines that are listed in PD 11. Then we have the content, concepts, and vocabulary, where our mini lessons connect literacy learning throughout the curriculum through the introduction of science or social studies vocabulary. And finally, to extend the learning, an age-appropriate writing activity that includes narrative, explanatory, and opinion writing, allowing them to write about what they've learned and add drawings that can be displayed in the classroom. For the home activity, this gives students additional practice at home and helps to promote family literacy. At the end of some lessons, you'll see a link to the progress monitoring tests. These comprehensive assessment resources help teachers measure student progress so that they can adjust instruction accordingly. Now that we've seen the overview, let's look at a sample lesson for Level A, Lección 23 on page 92. What is the first thing that we notice about this book? Well, likely the first thing that you'll notice are the beautiful National Geographic images that support the informational text. Next, you see the Sing and Comprehend, or Cantar y comprender. This will help activate prior knowledge. We can read the title of the song and ask the students what animal they see in the photos. We can then explain that they're going to sing a song and learn more about gorillas. Then we would play the song and check the students' comprehension. Here we can increase phonological awareness by explaining that in a multisyllabic word, one of the syllables is pronounced more strongly than the rest. In Lesson 23, we're going to follow that with the Present the Letter. Presentar la letra G by having our students, number 1, begin to associate the sounds and letter. Here you'll sing the song again and display letter card 23A and point to the gorilla pronouncing the word. Next, you'll increase phonological awareness by isolating the initial sounds. Then the students will have the opportunity to practice these initial sounds. Now we come to the write or escribir section of the lesson. First, we're going to work on forming the letter G. Use the back of letter card 23A to demonstrate how to write uppercase G and lowercase g. Give each child a sheet of paper on which you have written the letters uppercase and lowercase to explain how to write the lowercase g and the uppercase g. Next, the students can further their writing practice by using the activity in the activity book. Then we're going to connect this to a high-frequency word. We can introduce the high-frequency word beginning with the letter that's being introduced. Here you can tear out the fold-up books located in the activity book, helping the students to develop their reading using the high-frequency word. One step beyond and taking that to building words. Students will build a series of words and read each word after forming it. We're following that with the quick write, the purpose of which is to help develop writing fluency. Often emergent writers have a difficult time getting started in writing, so these brief and timed writing activities can start with the writing of individual words and then develop into writing sentences that record the students' ideas. To prepare the students for reading, we're going to get ready by displaying the front cover, reading the title, and asking children to say what they see. Then we're going to show the inside of the front cover, helping to preview the book with the students and guiding them with questions and comments. Next, we would have our students whisper read the book individually, then have them find a partner and read the book to one another. We can support the students with the differentiated practice that we find in the routine sections again under PD number 11. And if you have a question on the whisper read routine, you can find that on page PD 10. Each lesson includes content vocabulary in either science or social studies. Here we're going to use the back cover to present the vocabulary and develop these concepts. So we can introduce the content vocabulary for each lesson. Then turn the book over and ask the students questions using the new content vocabulary. In this particular lesson, the content vocabulary focuses on social studies. Whatever is done in writing should be thought of as a resource for reading acquisition and vice versa. Writing can and should be used as a resource for reading acquisition. We just had students read the book with a partner, learn the content, concepts, and vocabulary, and now, according to Marie Clay's wise words here, we want to reinforce what they're learning through their writing. In order to do this, we're going to want to walk the students through the writing process by thinking aloud the process of forming opinions, formulating and writing a message, and so on. So we can look at pages 2 and 3 of the book and go through this process. Number 1, write a sentence with gorila. El gorilita vive en la selva con su mamá. Next, we're going to have the students draw the gorilla with its mother. And you see an example of a picture there that a student drew. Finally, now it's your turn. The students will draw and write about the little gorilla. If you're interested in looking at some of the writing routines, again, I'm going to refer you back to the PD section in the front matter of the Teacher's Edition where you can go a little bit more in depth on those. If we're going to continue on with the homeschool connection, home practice number 23, the children will get additional practice by writing the uppercase he and the lowercase he and sorting pictures according to whether they have the strong sound or the soft sound of the letter. With your Canciones y Cuentos program, review lessons are also provided in this section of the teacher's guide for additional student practice, or if you need some suggestions for reteaching, you can also find those here. In the back of your book on page R22, you will find the activity bank. You can choose between these lessons to re-examine, reteach, and/or extend the lessons. Included in the Canciones y Cuentos are an array of assessments. The literacy skills assessments are optional. You can administer any or all of these to determine how much your students already know in order to plan instruction. The concepts of print assessment is administered to students one at a time. You can see it right here on the screen, and this identifies the skills that students have. The letter sound and letter name assessment has students say the name and the sound for both uppercase and lowercase letters that are not in alphabetical order. If timed, when you administer, a fluency value can be calculated from this assessment. The handwriting assessment asks students only to write their own name several times. The high frequency word assessment checks the students' ready recognition of 10 words that appear with the very high frequency in Spanish early childhood print. Next are the benchmark tests that provide a record of student achievement and growth over time in the following areas: phonological awareness, oral reading, and spelling. Last of all are the progress monitoring assessments. Each of these tests is administered at the end of a thematic unit, or every few lessons, and provides immediate feedback about students' progress. There are 7 progress monitoring tests in Level A. Here are the 3 sections of the progress monitoring test. Number 1 is the phonics section. Here you'll find 6 multiple choice items that test decoding skills taught in the previous lessons. Next is the spelling section. Here it asks students to write a sentence from dictation. And finally, the oral reading section. These are passages that focus on the phonics skills and the high-frequency words that were introduced in previous lessons. So let's just quickly review what our participant outcomes were for today. The first was to identify the purpose of each program component. And as we've walked through Level A, you've seen several of those components. To be able to explain best practices for teaching phonics, and we highlight a couple of researchers that we've used to formulate this program. Understanding the instructional design of Canciones y cuentos, and we've walked through that in several of our slides. And finally, to describe how the Canciones y cuentos assessment tools monitor students' progress and inform instruction. Gracias por su atención, and thank you very much.